You got what you want. Now you can hardly stand it though. By now you know it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop till you wise up.
We will not stop today until 1 o'clock. And between now and then, we will play every one of your requests from movie soundtracks. I thought I'd start the show today with one of my absolute favorites. That's Amy Mann and Wise Up from the soundtrack to the excellent movie Magnolia. If you have not seen it, invest the 3 hours. I think it's worth your time. Split it up if you want to. Watch half tonight and half tomorrow, or do it in 3 sessions. I don't care. It's a good movie, and the soundtrack is exceptional. One of my all-time favorites. Now, I know Amy Mann's song from the same movie, Save Me, I believe it was called, was nominated for an Academy Award as Best Song that year, but I liked Wise Up a little bit better. You might know Amy Mann's name from the band Till Tuesday and their album Voices Carry back in the late 80s, early 90s. Anyway, Amy Mann, solo stuff from the soundtrack to the movie Magnolia. Starting our show on this Friday morning, the 11th of July. Welcome to the program. Thank you very much for stopping by, spending some of your time with us. What a treat for me to spend some time with just truly exceptional people for a great cause. Yesterday afternoon in Petersburg, I told you at the beginning of the show that it was the day yesterday of the great Bechtold barbecue, 21 years running now. Warren Bechtold, his family, his business, has gotten together and held a barbecue fundraiser for research into childhood cancer. Well over $300,000 now raised in the past 21 years. And Warren let me know via email this morning that as of last night, the total raised was just over $27,000, and there's still money coming in. He expects to finish pretty close to last year's total of $35,000. Not bad for flipping some burgers and turning some sausages on the grill on the side of the road, Notre Dame Drive in Petersburg. But it was a great feeling to be there amongst like-minded people, have some great conversations, and just know that the little part you were doing, right? You know, Warren's kind of the catalyst here, bringing people together, but you all show up and do your part too. And it was a beautiful day for it. Had some great conversations, some fundraising for a great cause, and already Warren is planning next year's event. Mark down July the 9th, 2026 for the 22nd annual barbecue in support of childhood cancer research. All right, let's get to those 5 things. Your Farwell Show 5 for this Friday morning. Number 1, Canada's labour market topped expectations in June amid a surprise surge in hiring. Statistics Canada says the unemployment rate dropped a tick to 6.9% in June as the economy added 83,000 jobs, mostly part-time work. Heading into today, economists had expected no job gains for the month, and that the jobless rate would rise to 7.1%. StatsCan says June marked the first month of significant job gains since January and snapped a streak of 3 consecutive months where the unemployment rate rose. Number 2, Prime Minister Mark Carney is promising to defend workers and businesses in Canada following the latest trade threats from U.S. President Donald Trump. Trump threatened to impose 35% tariffs on Canadian goods yesterday, evidently setting a new deadline for trade talks that were set to wrap up by July the 21st. He also said he may consider a tariff adjustment if Canada works to stop the flow of fentanyl into the U.S. Carney says Canada will continue to work towards securing a trade deal by a revised deadline of August the 1st. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning. If you dread driving the 401 as much as I dread driving the 401, you're going to dread it even more this weekend. Starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow night, all lanes on the 401 will be closed, both directions, from Guelph Line to Highway 25 until Sunday morning at 9. The closure is planned to accommodate a bridge demolition. Number 4, Guelph is also about to experience the first ever Great Downtown Garage Sale happening tomorrow from 10 until 4 on Wyndham Street North. This also, though, brings a road closure. You can't have a garage sale on the street if cars are moving through. This brand new event will see community members setting up shop from the trunks of their cars and creating a unique and walkable marketplace. Wyndham Street will be closed to traffic for the day. This is tomorrow. Downtown Guelph businesses also joining in the celebration, spilling out onto the sidewalks with special sales, pop-up displays, and activities. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this Friday morning, the annual Team Addy basketball tournament is back this weekend in Guelph. More than 190 teams are expected for the 4th annual charity event taking place at the University of Guelph on Saturday. That's tomorrow, starting at 9. The tournament, now considered one of the largest amateur 3-on-3 basketball competitions in Canada, is once again raising money for pediatric sarcoma cancer research at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Friday morning. What we like to do on Fridays, because, it's Friday after all, is have a little bit of fun with our not $1 million question. I have to emphasize the not $1 million question because I one time made the mistake of calling it $1 million question in true game show fashion. And then somebody said, if I get it right, are you giving me $1 million? No. But what you can get is the undying gratitude and admiration of your fellow 45 listeners on this show, because you'll come across as a genius. The question today, the not $1 million question. The average Canadian will do this 20 times this summer. What is it? What will the average Canadian do 20 times this summer? Take your best guess. 519-570-2545. Star 570, 1-800-570-5715. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. You might be thinking, wait a minute, didn't we hear George Baker's selection last week in Little Green Bag from Reservoir Dogs on the passing of Michael Madsen, of course? And yes, we did. But it is an All Request Friday where you request songs from your favorite movie soundtracks. And I guess Corey missed it last week when we played it, so Corey gets to hear it today. And I understand. I mean, I love it when you stick around for the full 4 hours. We like to keep things moving for you on the show. Bunch of different conversations. But if you don't get the full 4 hours, you can get your song requested the next week. That's the way it works. 4 minutes, 4 hours, however long you're here. Certainly appreciate it. And All Request Friday is movie soundtrack music today. Fridays also mean your not $1 million question. And today we are asking you what the average Canadian will do 20 times this summer. I wonder if Phil knows the answer. Something tells me he does, actually, but we'll find out. Morning, Phil.
Good morning, Mike, man.
How are you, bud?
I'm going to bite on your question.
Do it.
Give you something else to chew on after hearing about the Hunters being involved with Team Canada.
What do you want to be like this for, Phil? Why do you want to bring up Dale and Mark Hunter of the my favorite, he says sarcastically, OHL team? Dale will coach Team Canada at the World Juniors next year, and Mark will be a general manager or part of the management of the team. But we don't need to talk about that, do we?
No, okay, no. It escapes me. Where is it?
Oh boy! Wait, is it going back? Is it back to Canada this year? I can't remember either. Well, you know what? That's future Phil and Farwell's problem to figure out.
Okay.
So the average Canadian is going to do this 20 times this summer. What is it, Phil?
Barbecue.
Oh. That's an excellent guess. That's an excellent guess, but not the answer we're looking for.
Okay, I'm not the average Canadian.
Clearly not. I really only 20 times, though? Like, come on, you probably barbecued 20 times already this summer.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so there you go. So think of something you don't do quite as often as barbecue.
And I have a neighbor who doesn't use propane for his barbecue. He likes charcoal.
Oh, so
because
good.
It takes longer to get hot, and he can drink more beer.
Philip, enjoy your day. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, buddy.
Good hearing from Stratford on the show. I thought the charcoal barbecue was just for the aroma, because ding dang, is it not a great aroma from a charcoal barbecue? Our buddy Jersey Bill is with us this morning too. I think he wants to talk about Donald Trump, though. Hey, Billy.
Yeah, but I'll take a shot.
You want to take a stab at the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Complain about the heat.
Oh boy, I love that guess. Very good. I wish I could give you like the award just for the best wrong answer. Not the answer, but a very good guess, sir.
Yes. But I tell you what, when you talked about, you were over Donald Trump or that we're going to worry about him all the time, I really was in agreement with you. I just want the dang thing to play out. I'm hoping that he's going to lose interest in being president and just, consider his next money-making scam. But when you wake up today and 35% tariffs and, just no relief in sight for the world economy. And, it just boggles my mind. I just don't know what the President of the United States thinks he's accomplishing by his irrational actions.
Billy, appreciate the call. And one of the reasons for the implementation of these latest tariffs is because of the flow of fentanyl. He's bringing that back in. The Manhattan Institute just this week released a report that shows that 99% of the fentanyl flowing into the United States is coming from the southern border, i.e. Mexico. 99%. Also, could you not make the argument that if it's crossing into your country, it's your border security that is doing a poor job? I know the country from which it originates can also do a part, but the Manhattan Institute just this week releasing a report, 99% of the fentanyl flowing into the United States flows from the southern border. And Donald Trump helped to negotiate the existing Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement. And now he wants to just, anyway, I'm befuddled and frustrated by all of it. Let's get back to the phones. I think Patty has a guess on what the average Canadian will do 20 times this summer. Hi, Patty.
Yeah. Oh, hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's the turkey drop patty.
Turkey drop patty, yeah.
First one I was thinking was, something else, but I was going to say wash their car. Or can I have a second guess?
Absolutely, you can.
Going to the liquor or the beer store.
Again, Patty, I got to think that last one we do way more than 20 times. But
oh, do you think so? Oh,
I don't know. Maybe I'm just speaking from experience.
Well, that's okay. Anyway, enjoy your day. Have a great one.
Thanks, Patty. You too. It's also not wash your car. Funny that Patty brings that up because that became an issue over the winter when I learned that a couple of the coaches with the Kitchener Rangers are obsessed, so too the president of the board, obsessed with washing their cars. Like they do this multiple times a week, which was just something I couldn't wrap my head around, even in the wintertime. Anyway, the answer is also not wash your car. The average Canadian will, though, do this 20 times this summer. You want to take a guess at our not $1 million question? We'll take more calls right after this on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I wonder what movie this song comes from. Grant wanted to hear Gonna Fly Now from, of course, Rocky. One of, by the way, the greatest movies of all time. We're playing songs from your favorite movie soundtrack by request on this All Request Friday. We're also asking you the not $1 million question again today. The average Canadian will do this 20 times this summer. What is this? Let's go back to the phones. Eliana, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Sorry, I tried to get her on, but she won't talk. She's nervous.
Well, am I a big scary guy? Is that the problem?
I think I freaked them out about the public stage a bit.
All right, you got a guess?
Yeah, we got two.
Okay.
We got the first one is adjust the thermostat in the house.
Oh, you know what? That's almost a daily occurrence in the Farwell household. Not the answer we're looking for, but a good guess.
And the next one is go get ice cream.
Now, was that Eliana's guess?
Yes, it was.
Okay, Eliana and I just became best friends. That is the answer to our not... It is the answer. The not one...
Wonderful.
Okay, how old is Eliana?
8.
8? 8. Okay, so next week when we play this game, it's going to be, are you smarter than an 8-year-old? Because Eliana nailed the not $1 million question. The average Canadian will 20 times this summer get themselves some ice cream.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for playing along. Have a great day.
Bye.
All right, all the best. Eliana, the 8-year-old, comes through in the clutch with the answer to our not $1 million question today. And I would just like to say, if the average Canadian only gets ice cream 20 times this summer, the average Canadian is Canadianing wrong or something like that. You know me. I love me some ice cream. And I may have already had 20 scoops of ice cream this summer. I don't know. But either way, every chance I get, I've shared this with you before too. Anybody who owns a motorcycle knows deep down the reason they own the motorcycle is because it's just a much more fun way to drive to the ice cream store. Simple as that. The average Canadian, 20 times this summer, will enjoy a scoop of ice cream. All right, I've got to get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then they're new-ish to the Preston area of Cambridge, and they are building community one step at a time. You'll meet them and hear their story coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio. By request from Brian, some Queen and Flash Gordon, not your typical Queen song, from the soundtrack of the movie by the same name. I wouldn't recommend the movie, but I would always recommend listening to the music of Queen. It is an all request Friday here on the show. We are playing songs from movie soundtracks. Send in a request by letting Jen know when you call in, or send me an email, mike@570news.com. We will play as many as we can before we call it a day at 1 this afternoon. I came across this story and just absolutely loved what this couple is doing. And I thought if we could amplify that story just a little bit more and maybe get more people involved, it's just a good thing all around. So very pleased to welcome to the show this morning, Mags and Gordon Springle. Mags, good morning.
Good morning.
Gordon,
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Gordon. Thank you both for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on the show. Have you already walked today?
I did yoga today.
Yoga today. Good. And Gordon?
Yeah, I pretty much got out of bed. I walked all the way downstairs. It's a 9-foot ceiling, so it's 15 stairs. So, yeah, my walk is done for the day.
I love
pretty
it.
much.
You and I are cut from the same cloth.
I got to ask, mate, was that Flash Gordon for me? Was that my theme song?
Absolutely. You know what? I didn't even. That's what our producer Jen is able to pull off without me even realizing it. Yes, you are now. I'm going to call you Flash for the rest of the day.
I'm okay with that.
Excellent, excellent. Megs, let me start with you. Where did the idea of creating this walking club come from?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the Springle team, we really want to give back and build community, especially with the community that supports us. So I was going for walks by myself at 6:30, or even a little bit earlier, actually. And then I was reading Mel Robbins' Let Them, a little bit of a popular book right now. And she started a walking group at 6:30 a.m. on Wednesdays. And what started off as just a couple people ended up growing into a community. So I figured if Mel Robbins could do it, that I could also get people out at 6:30 a.m.
And
I am. It has grown much faster than I thought it would.
people show up at 6:30 in the morning at Central Park, right? That's where you meet on King Street in Preston?
Close. It's Civic Park. So
Civic
just down
Park.
the street. There's a little bit more parking at Civic Park.
Gotcha. Okay. And so folks have started showing up.
Yeah. So it's only been going for about 6 weeks. And last week we had 15 people come.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it really is.
So, Gordon, how did you latch on to Meg's wonderful idea?
Well, I saw the awesome stuff she was doing, but what really triggered it was somebody on her community Facebook group actually said, it was a man actually who commented on her post, hey, you know, that'd be great if we had something for men. So I thought, hey, that sounds amazing. So I'm riding her coattails a little bit, but I think I'm really excited about this.
How does your group? So, Gordon, you and the guys go out, Megs and the ladies go out. They meet at 6:30. You meet a little later, Gordon?
Yeah, 7 a.m. Actually, it's too bad because one prospective individual, he asked, you know, can we do 6:30? I said, no, my brain doesn't function at that hour. Caffeine doesn't kick in at that point. So mine's still in the embryonic stage. We just went out. I just went out for the first time on Thursday. There's a couple of guys who have tagged me, and I'm looking to build this. I think it may build more slowly than the women's group, and I think part of that is men aren't maybe as driven for community connection, that kind of thing. But I'm really hoping some guys come out.
Is there anything required, Gordon, other than just showing up, being ready to walk on Thursday morning at 7 a.m.?
That's it. Just don't come barefoot. Technically, you could.
You could. But yes, probably not recommended. Yeah.
No. So it's nice. There's no. What I love about this, Mike, is such a low bar to get in. You know, there's no commitment. You don't have to confirm with me to come. I know Mags has created that situation. You don't have to pay any fees. You don't have to make any kind of commitment. And people are really busy in their lives. They don't need one more thing to kind of map out in the future and have to be a part of. And it's just like if you're inspired in that morning, come on out.
Mags, what benefits have you realized since starting this?
Well, just this past week, there was some women talking in the messenger group because that's how we're communicating, just to make sure that people get updates. It's rain or sprinkle. So as long as there's no thunderstorm, which I would let them know in the group. But in the group, a woman was commenting that it was such an amazing morning and to see so many women out and smiling, and that the time just flew by so fast. So you can make something like exercise at 6:30 a.m. fun. So besides like the amazing community aspect that we're building of women making friends, you get to also get a little exercise in.
Yeah, I love the way that works, right? So a little bit of exercise, walking's a pretty low barrier activity, but the connections that you can make, the people that you can meet, I think is just as, if not more, important than the bit of exercise you get while doing this.
Exactly. It's amazing. And the funny thing is, which I didn't really think of when we first started, is, you know, a sidewalk is only so wide. And so you end up with like one buddy for the walk and you make best friends with them for that morning.
Right. Gordon, if anybody is so inclined as they listen to this conversation this morning, how can they find the two of you? How can they join the walking groups?
You go on Facebook and search a community group called 7 a.m. Men's Walking Group, and you'll find it in Cambridge.
Okay. And Mags, what's it for your...
I was going to say perhaps an easier way that's always easy to kind of figure out is our email addresses.
Okay.
So mine is, so if they end in the same thing. Mine is Mags, and it's at thespringleteam.com. And our last name is basically Sprinkle, but with a G instead. And Gordon, and Gordon's is the same thing, but Gordon at thespringleteam.com.
All right. The Springle team being the realty. You're both local realtors. And I know I've described you earlier today coming into the show as new-ish Cambridge residents because you came, about 6 years or so ago from Toronto? We
did, yes. Yeah. And the funny thing is that we arrived in the fall right before COVID. And so it was a time where normally when I kind of move to a new place, and I recommend to anybody that moves to a new place, is spend the first 6 months really getting out to get to know your community so it feels like your community. And we didn't really get to do that. And then I kind of, life moves on and you forgot to do that, essential piece. And so that's why we're trying to do more things like this walking group to really get to know everyone around.
Gordon, how does the Preston area of Cambridge compare to the Big Smoke?
I absolutely love it. I'm a bit of a hybrid because I grew up in Brampton before it was big, and then we moved out to the country and went to Acton High School, and then lived in Toronto for about 35 years. So I like both worlds, and I got a little bit tired of the noise, the pollution, the traffic, and that kind of thing, and also the price of real estate. So moving out to Preston and Cambridge was a fantastic move. We couldn't be happier. We just love it here.
I'm glad it's working so well. And I love the idea of the walking groups, bringing people together, making some new friends, getting that bit of exercise, and really building community. Kudos to the both of you, and thanks very much for joining the show this morning.
Well, thanks for the invite.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Gordon and Mags Springle joining us. They are the Springle team, local realtors in Cambridge, and they have begun walking groups for men Thursdays at 7, for women Wednesdays 6:30. Thespringleteam.com. Think of that as the email address. So it's Mags at thespringleteam.com or Gordon at thespringleteam.com. Send them a note. Say you'd like to walk with them one morning a week. A little bit of exercise, a little bit of community building along the way, some social connection. Love to hear it happening right in the beautiful Preston area of Cambridge, which I can say from experience, gorgeous area to walk. We'll take a break. When we come back, I cannot wait to introduce you to this kid who is wise and energetic beyond his years. Euan's Big Ride is back for another year, and you'll hear more about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Stay awake just to hear you breathing. Watch you smile while you are sleeping, while you're far away and dreaming.
Little bit of Aerosmith, and I don't want to miss a thing. From the soundtrack of the movie Armageddon, both Kyle and Clinton wanted to hear that one today, so it's a 2-for-1 on your All Request Friday movie soundtrack edition. We talked about new walking clubs that have been begun by some new-ish residents of Cambridge just a moment ago. We're going to go from walking to riding, and 12-year-old Euan Bingham is getting ready for his big ride again. It happens tomorrow. This is not the first time Euan has undertaken this effort. And this time around, it's going to be 120 kilometers. That's right. You heard right. A 120-kilometer bike ride by a 12-year-old boy, also in Cambridge. Euan and his mom, Kelly, joined the show to talk more about it. Euan, let's start with you. How did all of this get started?
Well, it started because I love Terry Fox and I love bike riding, and I love Terry Fox because I found him very inspiring. So we just thought that would be the perfect combination of something to do during quarantine.
How did you learn about Terry Fox?
My grade 1 teacher, I already knew about Terry Fox, but my grade 1 teacher made me get very inspired by him, and I loved him even more, and I wanted to do what he was doing.
You, in the very first year that you did this, how far did you ride your bike?
On my first year, I rode 70 kilometers because I was 7. So I just thought every year I'll match my age with my kilometers.
So this year, you're 12. That means 120 kilometers?
Yep.
Okay. So let's just think about that for 1 minute. You're 7 years old, and you think you're going to ride your bike 70 kilometers. Was that hard?
Yeah. And at that point, when I said that, the most I've ridden was 22 kilometers. So that was even more unbelievable.
I know that your mom, Kelly, is with us on the phone today. Kelly, when Euan first approached you with this idea, what went through your mind?
Well, both my husband and I thought there was absolutely no way that he was going to be able to ride 70 kilometers. But, of course, we didn't tell him that. We just thought, well, yeah, sure, honey, yeah, we'll definitely try that. And we took him out for another ride before we did the ride was a bit later in the summer that year. So we thought, okay, well, we'll take you out for a ride. We'll take you to Port Dover and we'll do this ride. It's 40 kilometers and we'll just see what we can do. And no big deal if we don't make it. And he, with the promise of ice cream at the end, he totally made it, the 40 kilometers, of course.
I got ice cream 3/4 of the way through and that powered me for the rest.
And we changed our minds. We thought, you know what, maybe he can make it the 70 kilometers. Let's do this and see what happens.
There just might be a little Terry Fox in your son there, Kelly.
I think so. That's what we're always saying to him. You're just you can be the little miniature Terry Fox now.
Euan, do you know how much money you've been able to raise over all of these years?
So far, I've been able to raise over $45,000, and I hope to be at $50,000 by the end of this year.
We can do this. Euan, where can we make a donation to your big bike ride?
On the Terry Fox Foundation page, if you go to the Terry Fox Ride of Hope, my ride is on there. It's called Euan's Big Ride, and there's a donation page on there. So if you want to donate, you would go on there.
Okay. Have you been training? Because 120 kilometers is a long bike ride.
Often we train by riding from our house in Cambridge to Paris and then back. So that's about 55 kilometers.
And will you get ice cream at the end of your ride on Saturday?
On Saturday, maybe. On our Paris ride, yes.
Kelly, Euan, this is a great story. I'm so glad we were able to share it. Keep up the great work, and thank you very much for joining the show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Kelly Bingham, her son Euan, getting ready for tomorrow's big ride in support of cancer research. Euan is spelled E-U-A-N. Look up Euan's big ride. Help the kid out a little bit. He's about $900 away from his $10,000 goal right now, but I could talk to that kid all day. 12 years old. He's doing 120 kilometers on the bike tomorrow. And maybe not ice cream, but when they do those training rides from Cambridge to Paris, then he gets his ice cream. Love it. And go get him, Euan. Better you than me, young fella. Your legs will survive. This is the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is Xanadu. Olivia Newton-John, ELO, the Electric Light Orchestra, from the soundtrack of the movie by the same name. We talked about that song and soundtrack during This Week in Music History earlier this week with our resident musicologist, Brian Allison. He also said we should play the song, movie soundtrack music, on All Request Friday, and so we have. And Brian will be back on Monday, as he is every week, Monday mornings, 11 a.m. with This Week in Music History. Right now, we continue our Friday edition of the program. An update from the 570 News Center is coming up, and then some water enthusiasts are getting frustrated in the city of Kitchener, where access to our public waterways is being more difficult than perhaps it should be. We'll see if we can find out why, coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio.
First, when there's nothing but a slow glowing dream that your fear seems to hide deep inside your mind. All alone.
Well, I don't need to tell you that this one's from Flashdance, do I? Some Irene Cara by request from Bob on your All Request Friday here on the program. Friday's All Request this week, music from a movie soundtrack. Pick your favorite. We'll play as many as we can before we call it a day at 1. Really pleased to welcome in studio our next guest. This is a story that started with an email conversation. I did the best I could to try to get to the bottom of it, and I haven't had a whole lot of success in that regard, but certainly a story that I think needs to have a little light shone upon it. So Todd Rajeski joins me in studio. Thank you very much for raising the issue and making the time to join me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So the issue is access to our public waterways. And I think it's important to emphasize public, because that's what the waterways are. And there are many people, such as yourself, who enjoy activities on the water that are available in this community. What challenges have you encountered, Todd, in Kitchener when it comes to accessing those public waterways?
So what we've come across, and I say we as in a whole bunch of other people that are involved, is blockades, like blocking our waterways. So when you do want to access them, you have to walk anywhere from 50 to 250 feet. And for accessibility reasons, for people with small children, seniors, people with mobility issues, that can become a hard task. And I think we should have a little bit better access.
Yeah, and see, you're talking about this through the lens, or as someone who can manage this, who can navigate it, but you identify others who would have a much more difficult time. And then there's that public waterway, but if they want to get their canoe, their kayak, whatever it is, into that water, they've got quite a bit of a hike.
Exactly. I've canoed the Grand and participated in the Grand River Bass Derby pretty much all my life. And previous to this, when I was a kid, we were able to go on big family trips, friends, family, and back a trailer right up to the water. This was never an issue. And now, as I get older and start to see it and notice that, people with mobility issues and seniors, they're having a little bit more difficulty doing this. And we have this great resource in our backyard. And I'd just like to see it more utilized.
Yeah. So I love the natural areas that this community offers to us. I don't spend much time on the water at all, but one of my points of reference would be up at Bellwood Lake, where I have seen exactly what you've talked about. You can back your trailer right down the launch, and into the water goes the Sea-Doo or the boat or whatever it happens to be. You pull your vehicle out and off you go. This is something that obviously can be done elsewhere. Have you been able to determine why Kitchener has these boulders or these gates preventing us from doing that?
So I've had some conversations with certain people in the area, municipalities and that, and pretty much they just said it's deemed as a safety so somebody doesn't drive into the river. No, I think that's pretty common sense that we don't just drive into the river. But I mean, they've also brought off that they don't want people driving on our trails. I mean, there's a simple solution. We block off the trailheads and we utilize the access to the Grand. And other municipalities have been able to do this with no issue. So I'm wondering, why can't we? Cambridge, for example, is a great one. All their river access pretty much is wide open. So if they haven't had any issues and they're able to do it, why can't we? The topography is perfect.
Right.
We don't have big drops into our river. We have a nice gentle slope. It seems optimal for it.
I like your point about blocking access for a vehicle to the trailhead, because people in the trailhead will be walking and or bicycling, rollerblading, whatever anyway, and then that leaves that path open for the vehicles. Again, like other municipalities. I know Brant County is good at this. Cambridge has got this figured out. Obviously in Wellington County around Bellwood Lake. Yeah. Have you had the opportunity to talk to anybody at the city about this?
So I've made contact with people. It hasn't really gone anywhere. It's pretty much just a strict, no, this is the way it is right now. This is what we're doing. And I've moved it up to the municipal level. I've moved it up to even the Ontario, like provincial level, and with no real either concern nor feedback on it.
Yeah.
It pretty much like everybody's just passing the buck to the next person. So hopefully with this, we can get a little clarity and maybe, get this talk rolling.
Have you changed your usage of the water in any way because it's more difficult here than it needs to be? Do you go to other places? Sure.
Of course. Yeah. It comes down to, even if you want to do a family trip and you have a trailer, well, you're still offloading all your gear, all that heavy gear in a parking lot where there's people constantly coming and going. And that's a danger within itself, especially when you have little kids running around and you're trying to, put your canoe in 200 feet from where your vehicle is into the water. That's a task in itself.
Right. So how have you managed to navigate this in the time since? Has it always been this way?
From what I remember, it hasn't.
Yeah.
Like there's small, let's say Freeport Bridge.
Yep.
There's a little roundabout at the bottom that was accessible when I was a kid. It's one of those things where I've just seen it kind of build up over time. And I've even seen trails reworked and this put into play, more barriers and such. So I think it's just something that maybe the city overlooked. They looked at, we're going to concentrate on trail safety, more places for bicyclists and all that. And all of a sudden, maybe just for the paddlers, it's been overlooked.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Maybe not a high enough priority.
Yeah.
Right? Have you talked to your fellow water enthusiasts about this? Is this something in the community?
It's something we've all kind of touched on. And, when you bring it up, it's kind of, well, this is just kind of how it is. And we kind of have to do what we can. And I've also talked to neighbors and elderly people that want to use the waterways more. But they're just like, I just can't carry it for 200 feet or 150 feet to access the water.
Yeah. So walk me through a typical entry to the water today. What you are doing? I'm assuming parking the vehicle.
Yep.
Taking the kayak or the canoe off the car. Like, walk me through what you're going through.
So you would, depending on where you go, there's some access that's a little bit easier than others. Let's just take Woolner Trail. That's a great one. It's a paved, pretty much runway into the water. It's Fairway and Lac at the end of Fairway Road, going towards Kossuth. So you go out there, you park your vehicle. You would have to then take your canoe off, all your gear, and then you would have to walk at about 230 feet to the water's edge. And at there, then you'd have to walk back, grab your cooler, 200 and some odd feet, put it in. And once you're done that, moving, it could be one, it could be two canoes, all your gear. Once you've done that, then you have to then paddle. You'd have to go downstream, upstream, whatever. But at the end of the day, even after enjoying your time on the water, you'd still have to carry all that back once again. And people with mobility issues, small children, like I said, it's just one of those things where it just gets taxing on them. And they just, at the same point, just go, well, you know what, maybe I just won't do that today. Or maybe that's something I just won't do anymore. And that's a shame to see.
Yeah. That's why I don't work out, Todd. It's too much effort just to get into my workout clothes, Yeah. But you have identified a really good point here. And I think this is something the city does need to take a closer look at and consider changing. Really appreciate you raising the issue on behalf of all water users in the community. Thanks very much for doing this.
No, thanks for having me.
Todd Rajewski joins us on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. If you're one of our fellow water enthusiasts and you've encountered any of these obstacles in your usage of our public waterways, would love to hear from you on the show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Go downstream, upstream, whatever. But at the end of the day, even after enjoying your time on the water, you'd still have to carry all that back once again. And people with mobility issues, small children, like I said, it's just one of those things where it just gets taxing on them, and they just at the same point just go, well, you know what, maybe I just won't do that today, or maybe that's something I just won't do anymore, and that's a shame to see.
Yeah. That is Todd Rajeski, who is a water enthusiast in the community. As we hear some good, bad, and ugly, fantastic film if you have not seen it. I suspect you have, though. By request from Mark on this All Request Friday movie soundtrack edition here on the program. Todd was talking about the access to public waterways at trails in the city of Kitchener. And as I said, this started as an electronic conversation between Todd and I. I went to the Grand River Conservation Authority, the city, just trying to figure out the why behind this. And what the city of Kitchener did make me aware of is the bylaw, which prevents motor vehicles on city trails. This, of course, is for trail user and driver safety. So bollards or large boulders, even gates, are in place to prevent cars from accessing the trails. The city provides formalized canoe and kayak access at 4 sites along the Grand, which would be the Stanley Park Natural Area, Otterbein Road, Woolner Trail, and Schneider Park. These launch points, the city tells me, were designed for canoes and kayaks to be walked into the river, not for trailer launching. Most locations provide parking lots within a short walk. The Otterbein location has the closest lot, approximately 50 to 75 feet from the launch point. So I get it, but if that's the closest, just, let that sink in for a moment. We have access to these waterways. They are public waterways. And it would seem to me, and listen, I'll just let you in on this little secret. We can have the bylaws preventing vehicle access on city trails, but I can tell you that smaller vehicles already use the Iron Horse Trail and the spur line, okay? Because I've talked to the and listen, people are going to do things that they ought not do. But in a case like this, and I don't have deep experience myself because I am not one of the water users, although I do love the natural beauty that the community offers. And I get frustrated when I hear that we are being prevented from our full enjoyment of or usage of that natural area, as Todd and his fellow water enthusiasts would like. Just making it more difficult might turn people away, certainly prevents some people from doing this. And it's unique to the city of Kitchener. In Cambridge, you don't encounter those problems. I cited Bellwood Lake as an example where I have seen, and I know you're talking a bigger body of water there for sure, because I saw some power sports vehicles being trailered into the water. The point is, this can be done. And it seems as though those who enjoy the water in our community are being treated as second or third class behind those trail users because we all want safety. No question about that. But I think there's a way to accommodate all of our users in a much more accessible way here. So I hope that by raising the issue, Todd and his fellow water enthusiasts might be able to inspire some change in the city. Again, if Cambridge can do it, I'm sure Kitchener can too. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
The dark side's calling out, nothing is real. She'll never know just how I feel. From out of the shadow, she walks like a dream. Make me feel crazy, make me feel so mean. Nothing gonna save me from the love that's blind. Slip to the dark side across our line.
That is John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band on the dark side for Dean on your All Request Friday. Movie soundtrack edition that comes from the movie Eddie and the Cruisers. Hey, did you know that the month of July is Disability Pride Month? And my good friend CJ Jansen is an outspoken advocate for members of our community who are disabled. She's also got a show coming up on July the 24th to highlight what is possible even for people who are disabled. CJ, let's start with Disability Pride Month. What is the significance of it?
Disability Pride Month started in the U.S. in 1990 as part of turned this into a law that people with disabilities need to be included in the world. Unfortunately, it took Canada and the rest of the world a little bit longer. It only came into existence for us in 2023. Because of that, we're a little bit slower in some ways in catching up to celebrating people with disabilities. I don't know if the name is the best in the world, Disability Pride Month. I'm not really proud that I'm disabled, but I am certainly not ashamed of being disabled. And I think that's really important to understand the difference, because people with disabilities, there's over 2.1 billion people in the world who identify as being disabled. And I wanted to make sure that our community took time to recognize our own amazing talent in the region of Waterloo.
Disabilities Unleashed. It comes up on Thursday, the 24th of July at 7 o'clock. What do we need to know about the event?
Oh, I can't wait to tell you. Okay, so Disabilities Unleashed is a joyful, inclusive variety show. And as you said, it's happening on July 24th at Fairview Seniors Community in their second floor auditorium. They're located at 515 Langs Drive in Cambridge, and this is all a part of the Disability Pride Month celebrations. This event is about celebrating and elevating the talents of people with apparent and non-apparent disabilities through music, singing, and the spoken word. We've also got this artisan and vendor sale before the show featuring artists, authors, crafters, and disability-focused vendors. So please come early. The doors are going to open from like 6 to 7 for the artisan shop. And then the show itself is going to start at 7 p.m. Well, semi-sharp.
CJ, it sounds amazing, and I truly appreciate your advocacy. Thank you very much for doing this.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Don't forget to check out cjjansen.com for details and tickets to Disabilities Unleashed. It comes up on Thursday, July the 24th, so 2 weeks from yesterday. July is Disability Pride Month. All right, we're fast approaching 10:30. Your update in the 570 News Center. Of course, it being Friday, along with your requests for movie soundtracks, we've got our Friday 4 roundtable coming up between 11 and noon, discussing the week's big stories. Noon to 1, we'll have open phone lines for Free Phones Friday. And before 11, there's a lot going on hockey-wise in Cambridge right now. We'll bring you up to date on some former NHLers and former Kitchener Rangers who are making waves in Cambridge now and Cambridge's hockey community. And right after this update, they were on the wrong end of a no-hitter last night. But let's talk Kitchener Panthers with WRSE Weekly next on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
When you were young and your heart was an open book, you used to say, live and let live. You know you did, you know you did, you know you did. But if this ever-changing world in which we live in makes you give in and cry, say live and let die.
You know, we probably could have done an all-request Friday with movie music just from James Bond. Live and Let Die, Paul McCartney from the James Bond movie of the same name. Fridays mean all request here on the show, and this week we're playing your favorite movies or songs from movie soundtracks. Something else we do on Fridays is check in with Waterloo Region Sports and Entertainment. It's WRSE Weekly. and a check-in on our Kitchener Panthers. Shanif Harani is the general manager of the Panthers and joins us to talk some baseball. Good morning, Shanif.
Morning, Mike.
I know as a baseball guy, you can certainly appreciate the no-hitter. Probably a little more difficult, though, to appreciate it when it is your team that is being no-hit.
It is. It wasn't our night, but we'll have to tip our cap to him. He threw a great game, and we just have to rebound because we have another game tonight. Absolutely.
And, it's not something you see a whole lot of in baseball, certainly not in inter-county ball, where offense is usually what we see more of. But the first time since the late 1970s, you tip your cap for sure. Do you remember in your time in the game, Shanif, a particularly good pitching performance that you were able to see?
I do. And I was fortunate to play with, during my playing career, a lot of good pitchers and was able to see some pretty good pitching performances, but I can honestly say I have not seen a no-hitter live in person.
There you go. Like I said, they don't come around a whole heck of a lot. So that loss last night gives the Panthers 3 losses in their past 4. But as you said, right back at it tonight in London. And then, lucky you get to face the league-leading Jackfish before coming home on Sunday to take on Barrie. Let's start with the 2 road games, Shanif. What are you looking for from the ball club to kind of, shake off last night and get back on track?
Yeah, last night's in the past. So honestly, as a group, we need to put it behind us, and we have a great opportunity to win some games against some really good teams. Welland, like you said, is in first place. London's at the top of the standings as well, and Barrie they're the defending champion. So we have a tough 3-game stretch, but if we can put what happened yesterday behind us, rally together as a group and bounce back, I think we can have a successful weekend.
Anytime you go out there, you just never know what's going to happen. That's why we always say it's why you play the games. But when you are coming up against, league-leading teams near the top of the standings, do you get up a little bit more for that? Want to, see what you can do and maybe show them that, hey, you may have lost 3 of 4, but we can play with these guys?
Yeah, you like to think that every game is the same and you want to come out like that every game. But, I mean, it's only natural that you want to get up against these teams and you want to prove that you're better than they are. So I hope we have a little bit of fire lit under us after what happened and we're ready to compete with these guys.
As mentioned, in London tonight, in Welland on Saturday, and then home to Barrie on Sunday. That's a 5 p.m. start at Jack Couch. What's going on at the ballpark this Sunday?
Yes, it is. So another 5 p.m. start. Our fans have been awesome. We had a great crowd last night, and we'd love to put on a show for them on Sunday and show them that we see their support. So we're looking forward to a great game Sunday, and then also our next home game after that on Thursday. We'll be doing a seat cushion giveaway. So we'll be giving away 100 seat cushions to some lucky fans as well.
The seat cushion is the classic Jack Couch bring-along with you to the park. On those benches, we've always been bringing our seat cushions. So there you go. You did bucket hats not too long ago, and now we're going to get the seat cushions next Thursday when you're playing the Chatham-Kent Barnstormers. So something else for fans to look forward to. At this point in the season, Shanif, when the team's struggling a little bit, any options for reinforcements or anything like that you might be able to add to the roster?
For sure, that's exactly what we're looking for. Any way we can supplement the team to make it stronger, whether that's adding pitching or position players, whatever we can do to give ourselves the best chance to win is what we're going to do. And also, we do have some bright spots that I wanted to quickly touch on, too, that we had 4 of our starters named All-Stars today. So our starting catcher, Junior Ibarra, and 3 position players, Yosuke Fuji, Jordan Mandalay, and Yosvani Penalve, were all named All-Stars today.
Take me through a little bit, if you could, Shanif, a day in the life of a general manager in inter-county baseball. What's it like?
For sure. Every day is different, which is exciting, and it always brings up new challenges. But day to day, we're looking over the roster. We're seeing where we need help, what's going well, how we can improve, and then also I've been taking on a lot of the off the field stuff as well. So how can we improve the game day experience? How can we show the fans that we value what they bring to our team, because they're a huge part of Kitchener Panthers baseball and like the legacy that this team has. So I get to do a little bit of both, on the field and off the field. So it's been a great experience so far.
You certainly have a full plate. Good luck shaking it off from last night, and best of luck in London tonight.
Thanks, Mike.
Shanif Hirani is the general manager of the Kitchener Panthers. It was a tough one. First no-hitter in inter-county ball since 1977. And unfortunately, the Panthers were on the end of it where they were the team getting no hit. But just as somebody who loves baseball as much as I do, you got to appreciate the no-hitter and the rarity of it. Unfortunately for the Panthers, they were the team not getting the hits last night. But a busy weekend ahead tonight in London at a real nice ballpark, Labatt Field there. Then in Welland, which I've been told, I haven't been down to the new park there. I've been told it's the best on the circuit right now. So the Panthers against the Jackfish in Wellington on Saturday, and home for a 5 p.m. start Sunday against the Barrie Baycats. So 3 games in 3 days for the Kitchener Panthers this weekend, as they've lost 3 of 4 and currently sit 8th in the 9-team intercounty baseball standings, 9.5 games back of those Welland Jackfish. The Jackfish in first place, 3 games up on Chatham-Kent, and 4 games ahead of London. So those are the teams that the Panthers are chasing, as they've got 7 in front of them, sitting in 8th place with a 9-16 record heading into action this weekend. WRSE Weekly, every Friday morning at 10:30, right here on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I was once told disco was dead, but I think it remains on life support somewhere. Certainly in the ears of Terry, who wanted to hear some disco inferno from Saturday Night Fever. It's an all-request Friday here on the show, where we play your requests from movie soundtracks. Let's continue the theme of sports. We just checked in with the Kitchener Panthers, the weekly WRSE, Waterloo Region Sports and Entertainment segment. There's lots going on in Cambridge as well, particularly in the area of hockey. Eric Boissonneau is the VP and Director of Hockey Operations with the Cambridge RedHawks, joins us for a chat. Hey, Eric, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about yourself?
You know what? Busy time of year for us.
It certainly is. Can we start for a moment with the senior team? You're building a bit of a powerhouse here with these Hornets coming back. Todd Bertuzzi's going to not only coach the Redhawks, but suit up for the Hornets next season.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting to get him out of retirement, especially with his passion for the game and his competitive spirit. And I don't know if you've seen him lately, but he managed to stay in shape even at the age of 50.
Incredible stuff. And I love what you're doing with hockey generally in Cambridge, Eric, because as mentioned, Bertuzzi, the head coach with the Redhawks, but you've rounded out that staff too with Mike Rusk, who played in the Ontario Hockey League with the Guelph Storm, and Nick Spaulding, who folks in Kitchener will remember very well from his time with the Rangers and a run to a Memorial Cup, and then, of course, an NHL career. So this is serious business hockey right now in the city.
Well, it's exciting. I mean, with that much knowledge behind the bench, and it's not just their knowledge too. If you talk to each one of those guys independently, the passion they have for the game, and now to coach together, like these guys have become genuine friends since we've hired them and started skating. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun, and there was no hesitation on any of their parts when we approached them. So that's good for us. It shows that the program's moving and we're doing the right things.
Well, I wanted to talk a little more about that program, Eric, because clearly you're not messing around, if I can put it that way, when you're bringing in a coaching staff like this for the RedHawks in the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League, and you're getting this senior team back up and running and adding the likes of Bertuzzi, et cetera. What's the vision here for hockey in Cambridge?
Give kids something to strive for. Hockey's been amazing for my entire life. I've met my best friends. I met on the ice playing with them, different teams, even at the beer league level. I mean, some of my best friends now, and my best man at my wedding years ago, I met on the ice. So why not continue and put my passion and our partnership's passion into the game? Even our partners, I mean, you know the story. We all met at beer league and then decided to buy the first hockey team. So here we are. So when you do both the junior and the senior levels, you give kids of all ages. I've got a 9-year-old, and he wants to be a Red Hawk, and he loves his Hornets gear that he has, so it just gives him somewhere to go.
I love the story, and I'm glad you referenced it. Is it what you expected? Because when you talk about beer league hockey, I just think, Eric, like, how many groups of friends have gotten together over a couple of beers? You know what? We should start a band. We should open a bar. You guys are like, we should buy a hockey team. What's it been like?
You know what? We probably should have started a band. There was less to do on the road. No, it's been very exciting. I mean, I had been on the board of a different team for a while, so I sort of had an idea what I was getting myself into, but in the same token, I had no clue. It's been fantastic, and the fact that we're all pooled and we put in the effort together, it's been a real help. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing this by myself, so our partners have been amazing. I think I would do it again. Oh, hang on, we did do it again. We bought another one. So obviously we're enjoying it.
Yeah, you could have a worse home base than Galt Arena Gardens, that's for sure.
I mean, you walk in and you feel the ghosts of hockey. I mean, I haven't been there all summer because the Highlanders play there, and I walked in the other night to go get stuff out of storage, and I miss it so much. It oozes with that hockey spirit.
It's not like, though, the summer is entirely quiet. You've got these signings, the building of the program to talk about, and I know you'll be involved next weekend, the 19th, at the Scotland's Yard Ball Hockey Tournament.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be fun. Both our teams, the Hornets and the RedHawks, are going to be running the skill tents out there, and we're going to be selling some swag and some early season tickets for both teams. And some of those profits are going to go back to the Scotland Yard Foundation.
I get the sense, Eric, that this is the grassroots sort of stuff that you do in order to endear yourself to existing fans and find new fans along the way. Clearly, you are making a commitment to the community here.
I mean, it's community first. Whenever we sign a player on both teams, we make it very well known that you're going to be asked to do community events. You're going to be asked to participate. You're going to be asked to hang around with the kids. We skate with minor hockey teams. We bring minor hockey teams through the change room. And if our players don't like that, this isn't the place for them. Community first, and hockey builds a community.
It sounds like a little bit there, too, when you talk about if the players don't like the way this is happening, this isn't the place for them. That speaks to culture from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, it's very important to us. You have to like what you do, and I don't want to hate hockey. So if you don't want to be part of a great culture, and again, I bring the word community and development, and you don't want to look into the future, I mean, we're not that group. So we've stuck by that. Our coaching staff, like you mentioned, all of them believe in that, and they buy in. Our management staff, I mean, Todd Hoffman's been great. We've worked together now for 3 years, so can't say enough about the culture.
Looking forward to another season ahead. It's never a bad time to talk hockey, and I'm glad we could do a bit of that today. Eric, keep up the great work. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I look forward to seeing you next weekend.
You got it. I'll be there for sure. See you then.
All right.
All right, Eric. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Eric Boissonneau, VP and Director of Hockey Operations with the Cambridge RedHawks, also the Cambridge Hornets senior team. I'll let you know a little secret. You don't put a guy like Todd Bertuzzi on the ice. And I don't care if he's 50. unless you mean business in that senior circuit. They got some plans, and I like the way they're going about this with the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League's RedHawks, the Hornets, and really re-energizing hockey programs in Cambridge. And yeah, young players in Cambridge are going to want to be RedHawks. They're going to want to be Hornets. They're going to be interested and excited about these programs. And next weekend, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, we don't want to wish away time in the summer, but July the 19th is it's the fourth annual Scotland's Yard Ball Hockey Tournament. Bunch of former NHLers are going to be there. They're kind of the driving force behind this. It's all raising money for the WREN, our Waterloo Regional Health Network. I will be in attendance for some of it, as will Eric and the RedHawks, and so many more. I think I heard yesterday a record number of teams coming. So it's going to be a great ball hockey tournament right here at the Boardwalk next weekend. But good to check in today with Eric Boissonneau of the Cambridge RedHawks. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Whoa, easy now. When Nathan requested this song, he says, you're going to hate me for it. So why do you want me to hate you? Why make me? Just Another Victim is the name of the song. I feel like the victim because I say I'll play your requests, and I do. It's movie soundtrack music. Just Another Victim by House of Pain and Helmet for Nathan comes from the movie Judgment Night. Real quick on the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League conversation. We were just having Cambridge RedHawks. I've been too slow in getting to this, and I want to bring them on for a longer conversation. But I was so happy to hear that the Waterloo Siskins are rebranding back to the original Waterloo Siskins. Thank heavens. That's the right move, Waterloo. Way to go. Siskins all the way. And they're currently looking for billet families, which you know are an integral part of the junior hockey experience. Bring back the Siskins, baby. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Every Friday at 11, we gather some guests round the virtual table for a discussion of the week's big stories. And that begins today with our good friend Marjorie Knight, family outreach worker with the House of Friendship. Good morning, Marjorie.
Morning, Mike.
And Marjorie,
good to see you.
Great to see you. I feel like we've been strangers for a while, and I don't like that. Yes. So it's very good to see you here this morning. Marjorie is here with the two Phils. We've got Molto, who's just an old buddy of mine and a cranky old broadcast guy that he got out when the going was still good, and I'm still struggling to make a paycheck around here.
When you say cranky about me, there isn't a font big enough to really emphasize how cranky I am.
Love to see you here. And Philip Mills is with us as well, not cranky in the least, but the CEO of Habitat for Humanity Waterloo Region. Good morning, Philip.
Morning, Mike.
All right, let's dive in because we do have a lot to discuss, not the least of which, and Marjorie, I'll start with you on this one. Fitting, I guess, you're in the city of Cambridge. How about that corporate reorganization at Cambridge City Hall, Marjorie? What do you make of it?
This quote, I had a number of people who advised me, and I did not want council being a part of that because they don't understand or they don't have that same knowledge I have from being on the corporate leadership team. What the fresh hell does that mean?
Whew, my heart skipped a beat there for a moment. I'm glad you went with fresh hell.
Because there were so many different things I could have said. Because it is such an insult, not just to the councillors, but to the people of Cambridge who voted to put councillors there because they have confidence in their experience and their mindfulness, thoughtfulness, and their intelligence. So to make this statement, that alone says it all. Absolutely ridiculous. We have a council. They're there to discuss things, to make changes together. This is not a one-person show. Yeah, I know, strong mayor position. She loves that because it gives her permission to do whatever she wants. And it gets to the point where I begin to believe that she doesn't believe that anybody else needs to be involved in decisions making, that it's her right and she can do so. And I beg to differ. And I think that this is just a symptom of what's happening in Cambridge, and things really need to change.
Cambridge Mayor Jan Liggett did indeed exercise strong mayor powers in this regard, spoke to a senior leadership team on the staff side, but did leave council out of the decision. Mr. Mills, your thoughts on the reorganization?
So if somebody said to me, we want to try and sort some things in Cambridge, I'd say that probably makes sense. Like, there are times where the city of Cambridge, has earned its reputation. And so trying to fix some things there makes sense. And listening to the mayor on your show the other day, she was like, yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time. Makes sense. This has been, there. But for it to be, we've been talking about this for a long time. And now Friday, we're going to announce it because Monday something's going to happen because the end of August, somebody's leaving. That's the part that strikes me as incredibly strange. To be like, we've been working on this for years, and now we're going to truncate this to a month. This has to be done, so we're just going to do this in the middle of summer when, hiring new people, moving people around, all of that kind of stuff is going to be, this is not generally the time where you're saying, let's make massive HR changes. People are gone, people are on vacation. So I just, the timing of all of this, the involvement of other people, I think would be wise. Doesn't sound as though there was a ton of external involvement in this, but I think the timing just struck me as so strange. You've had years, you've been talking about it for years, to then be, all right, we got to do this, we got to do it right now, and we got to do it in the speed. That speed and timing stuff struck me as just so odd and unnecessary. If this is the right choice and this is what's needed, just take the time to do it right. It sounded like they were trying to take the time to do it right and then rush the ending. And so that part I just don't get.
The phrase or the word unsettling was used to me from folks at Cambridge who, yes, found it to be unsettling, the speed with which this moved. All of a sudden, there's a memo on a Friday, and effective Monday, things are changing with the internal corporate structure at the city of Cambridge. Mr. Molto, your thoughts?
First of all, I'm glad Marjorie didn't cost you your CRTC license there. I didn't know where she was going at the beginning.
I heard the dragged out to start, and I thought, oh boy, where are we headed? Marjorie Knight might never come back here.
Those are overtime words that you don't use. Like Marjorie, I read that quote. It was like old school broadcasting. Read it 3 times and I still couldn't fully understand it. And then I started thinking about the way our leadership has gone at various levels in our region, the province, the country. Suddenly, leadership went from being at a comfortable round table to one person taking charge, and I'm doing it. And I'll tell you guys, I'll tell the rest of you about it later. It's like, what happened to these? We've gone from way too much red tape to, I got this. Just sit in the back seat. I'll hand out some milkshakes and some Timbits. And just, you're on for the drive. I've got this. It's a strange change, something in politics in Canada at various levels, where suddenly one person is taking the charge and the people are there for the photo op and stuff. But for the rest of it, I got this. It just sent a strange message. I kept rereading the article over and over, and I still can't grasp it because this is, we talked about before with Doug Ford and the big mayor power and what's going to happen to the region. Are suddenly a single tear just going to be dropped on us? And people say, well, we've been talking about it for a while, so we decided to go ahead and do it. We didn't consult with everybody. We talked to a few people, in certain positions, and we're just going to do it. It sends a strange message of over consulting to no consulting. And there's somebody here who's just waiting to call in. I could just feel saying, no, I got the answer. I'll tell you what's really going on. For me, it's really puzzling. This is new territory for us, especially at a level of government. We have all these councillors. You've got all these people who want to contribute, and people want to be on a panel and talk about it. And suddenly, it's a done deal.
I would love for somebody to just come in and say, here's your single tier of government, Waterloo Region. But I'll leave that aside for now. We might get into it in the next topic. Philip Mills.
The other side to this that I just strikes me as we're listening to it was just because you don't have to doesn't mean you shouldn't. And so this idea, I didn't have to talk to council. We don't have to. If I was to change something pretty substantive at Habitat, I don't have to ask my board, but it's prudent to talk to them and be like, hey, this isn't really your call, but I want you guys to know I've been thinking about this for years, and I'm kind of working on this in the background so that you know what's coming. And so there's something about that in the dynamic between, the mayor didn't have to talk to council. She's not obligated. but it is something that she chose not to bring them in, to not let them know, to not be a part of that. And the idea that I'm not obligated as a response, like, I don't love when it's like, well, I didn't have to, so you can't be mad. I can certainly be mad, even though you weren't, legally obligated, right versus just versus, legal. Like, I think there could have been and ought to have been a bit of a different process there.
But it isn't just that she didn't need to consult them and she didn't consult them. It's that she said that they don't have the experience or the knowledge the way she does. Now that's really...
How did they get on council without any of that experience? What was on the resume? I was confused. Like, how did you find these people? And the other part being at the very end where she compares it to the vision of church and state, that we have to keep it separate. I don't need to, as long as I'm involved in both. So councillors have to be church. This is state, but I can be both. I had to keep rereading the article, and I'm still confused by the approach of it, if you will.
Phil Molto, Marjorie Knight, and Philip Mills with us on our Friday 4 roundtable as we do scratch our heads. Strong mayor powers were supposed to help us get more housing built faster. I don't know how this reorg helps that, but that's where we're at right now, at least in Cambridge. We'll take a break, talk about the new communications center being built by regional police leading the project. The fire services right now saying, you're going to take a pass. We're not interested in being a part of this emergency response communications system. We'll talk about it as we continue our Friday 4 roundtable this morning. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. And with us on the roundtable this morning, Philip Mills, Phil Molto, and Marjorie Knight. It's a big story that's kind of at its beginnings here in the region. Big because it's a $173 million project. That in and of itself should catch our attention. It's a new communications center. Regional police are leading the project, and it will be built out on the lands of their headquarters on Maple Grove Road. A communication center like this, where 911 calls will be dispatched, I think you can understand why police have opened up the opportunity to bring other emergency services, paramedics, fire services, under the same roof. Some opportunity there, one would assume, for collaboration. Paramedics said very quickly they're interested in pursuing this opportunity. Fire, a little less enthusiastic about it, although there seems to be a glimmer of at least movement, if not hope, from Waterloo Fire Chief Richard Heptich in the past couple of days, indicating that at minimum he'd be interested in exploring this a little further, having some conversations. Mr. Mills, I'll start with you on this. What do you think of the reluctance of one of the emergency services to join this new comms center?
In some ways, it speaks to my ignorance. Like, I know that they're different, but the idea that they're also different always surprises me every time I hear it. The idea that, like, 911 isn't a regionalized thing. Like, it's like, well, actually, there's different places and it's doing with different people and different dispatches and it's running through different systems. I would have thought, maybe this is the same sort of regional question we ask between cities and region. I would have thought, like, yeah, all these folks are all sitting together all the time to make this stuff go, because that makes the most sense in my head. And so the idea that we're like, hey, would you want to maybe come together and work on this and be in the same place, seems like a thing that would have happened, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 years ago. And the idea that we're kind of like, it's not really the right time, just struck me as surprising in how I would have thought we were already organized. And to a certain extent, that's the ignorance of a person who just trusts that when I call 911, it's going to work. But I just kind of like, I was honestly just a little shocked that they weren't already all together. And as I thought about it, I was like, no, I have heard that in the past. And I'm just surprised every time I hear it.
I was equally surprised. I mean, I guess it sort of makes sense that they haven't been together. You can see why they might have been siloed or in different locations, space, technology, whatever the case may be. But when the opportunity was presented to bring all together and one emergency service said, maybe not, I raised an eyebrow. Phil Molto, what do you think?
I'm confused from a pure logistics and historical point of view that we are still at this fragmented stage. Anybody who's worked in a company, you've got shipping, receiving, parts, you over time, you develop a plan where we're all going to bring stuff together and integrate. And to be at this stage in the history of this, the cities and the region, and to still be at this point where they're still operating independently and not going to work under one umbrella, one location, is just puzzling to anybody who works with, budgets, logistics, and how to have a master plan. And to find it, we're not at that stage yet. It's just a little puzzling, if you will, because I like the other, like Phil Mills said, I thought they were already working together. I knew they had different facilities for training, but the central dispatch, if it's all working under one umbrella group, you'd think they'd be under one umbrella. Call me crazy.
You just have to be a big enough umbrella, Phil. That's all. Marjorie, what are your thoughts?
I remember a couple of years ago, there was a big brouhaha because there was some talk of centralizing somebody's dispatch. And it might actually have been the fire, either the fire or the ambulance. And they had tried to centralize it somewhere out of the region. And it had caused all manner of problems of people dispatching who didn't understand where places were and, all kinds of things. So I would have thought after that there would have been some talk about how to centralize it in the region. My wonder in my brain is saying, I wonder if when they started all these planning about building this building and communications, if not everybody was brought in from the beginning for the discussion. Because it seems to me that this is being planned by the police while the fire people are doing their own thing, because they have made some changes lately also. So maybe everybody wasn't in the same conversation. And then I need to ask why. Why wasn't everybody in on this conversation from day one? Say we're going to spend $173 million on communication center, and we haven't brought everybody in from the beginning of the planning. I just wonder if the communication itself was not there.
Communications in a communication center. It was paramedics, by the way, ambulance services a few years ago, where people living in this region were going a great distance to a new dispatch center. It did cause some kerfuffle for sure. Sorry, Phil Mills.
No, there is an irony about whether there was good communications within our communications planning. Like, that's spectacular. It is. I think that we have this sort of fragmented thing. This is, in some respects, like it's a reflection of everything here, right? Like this idea that we've got, some of this is regionalized, some of it's done by a city, and then we never know. So like, whose road is the problem with the pothole in front of a house? You're like, I don't know, is that a region or a city or municipal? Like, where does it go? And, because fire is city and, policing is regional. And so like, this is just, you can have this conversation 8 different ways about everything all the time, because as long as there is some of this two-tieredness, this stuff's going to come up. And I think there is reasons why, for one or the other, but the mishmash always then in points like this seems odd to me that we've got, regional policing, and then we're going to have localized fire, and it's going to not work, and they're not going to be in the same place. But so because that just means like, it strikes me that in this particular circumstance, every sort of handoff, every sort of transfer, every sort of thing we're trying to do to get this information around the line, like that is more time, it's more points of failure, and this stuff matters too much to allow that to happen. And this is ignorance, and and maybe the answer is like, Phil, what you're talking about telecommunications. None of that's true. Fair enough. I am not a telecommunications expert, but that's what it strikes me, that it would be a lot simpler if all the people who need to make sure that somebody gets out to help somebody in desperate need are in the same space, and that's going to be more efficient. And I think that's, to me, odd that we're not there yet. And so and again, ignorance. Maybe I'm entirely wrong and none of that matters and this is all going to be great, but that would be the part that worries me as a speculating citizen with no telecommunications understandings.
I think you nailed it when you talked about a regional police service, a regional paramedics service, and then seven different fire services. And I wonder if the idea of joining these other regional services might not make those independent or more independent services a little bit skittish. And I heard North Dumfries Township Mayor Sue Foxton say, look, fire dispatch is working very well for us. Okay, fair enough. But could it work better? I think is an also fair question to ask in this regard. Good conversation, as always. We'll take a quick break, come back with more. Our Friday 4 Roundtable on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. We have tackled a couple of big local issues this week. The strong mayor powers being exercised in Cambridge, and the Comms Centre for Emergency Services that, curiously, local fire services seem disinterested in talking about, at least right now. We're going to get you an update from the 570 News Center. And then as we continue our Friday 4 roundtable discussion, big provincial and national conversations to look into, including nationally, how is the Prime Minister going to achieve these budget cuts he seems so intent on achieving? And in this province, how are we going to fix the college system? We continue the Friday 4 roundtable on the Mike Farwell Show this morning, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Listen to what the flower people say. Listen, it's getting louder every day.
I don't know if it's the first time that Spinal Tap has appeared on the program, but hey, it's an All Request Friday, movie soundtrack edition, and one of our Friday 4 roundtable guests wanted to hear Listen to the Flower People. And so, as usual, your request is our command. The person that requested that is none other than Phil Molto, who is one of our 3 guests on the roundtable today. Phil is a former broadcaster here, worked in media for about 3 decades in our community, also ran for office in Kitchener several years back now. He's with Marjorie Knight, who is a family outreach worker with the House of Friendship, and Philip Mills, who's the CEO at Habitat for Humanity, Waterloo Region. Molto, you want to explain yourself with Listen to the Flower People before we get any further here?
You know, that's the very first time in broadcasting I've heard Spinal Tap played, and I thank you. My life is improved tenfold because of that moment. Thank you, Mike.
Happy to be a part of that. Great request, too. Okay, let's dive into that national story I mentioned before the news update, because lots of talk this week about a couple of things from our Prime Minister. One is the call to ministers to cut spending by 15% in the next 3 years. Across the board, we need 15% savings. And then there's also a call to reduce red tape, look for duplication in regulation, duplication with the provinces, etc. Can we make things work more efficiently? Pretty ambitious from where I'm sitting. Molto, you can start. How do you feel about these plans?
I love the quote, spend less and invest more. I mean, anybody who's, and this goes back, I guess I'm old and grumpy, so let's go back to the early 80s when we still had level 5 schooling in grade 13, and I sat in those Canadian history and politics classes and was told that the role of government is to collect taxes to then provide essential services. So why does the government collect taxes and then start investing in private this and then putting money there, creating huge bureaucracy that monitor how much money they've taken to give these firms? And what was the result of all that? There's just bureau after bureau out there just spending money in areas they shouldn't be involved in. That's for banking, that's for investment firms, that's for RSPs to invest. Government shouldn't be anywhere involved in that. And then they look around themselves, like anybody who's worked at a company where you bring in a efficiency specialist. And they used to ask that question, ask yourself why 5 or 7 times. Why are you doing it that way? Why are you doing it that way? I don't think at a lot of government levels, especially the feds, they do that. They just keep building more bureaucracy. So why are you doing that? And again, it's right there under their nose. Like, why do you have a mansion for the leader of the opposition when everybody else lives in a less, not so big thing? Why do we have 24 Sussex Drive sitting empty? The cottage is great, so sell a couple of mansions that the Polyev was living in and that former prime minister was living in. You've got millions sitting there. You've got a Senate that is blocking. There's your bureaucracy and your red tape. The whole Senate. There's almost $200 million a year spent on a Senate that is exactly red tape bureaucracy that nobody ever voted for. Just walk over with, get that big padlock, put it on the door. There's $175 million within feet of Carney's office right there. Look across, any place and say, how do you save 10%? You start asking your question, why are we doing things the way we do? Is there a more efficient way without being cruel, without having, the Elon Musk, efficiencies of being brutal? There are efficiencies out there with not being brutal and being responsible at the same time.
Marjorie Knight, what do you think of the plan to reduce spending and eliminate red tape?
I just have this knee-jerk reaction when they start talking about eliminating red tape. Because in Ontario, eliminating red tape means just throwing everything away and opening the door to say, do whatever you want to do as long as you're making money. And that does not work for me. So the red tape thing really just makes me twitch. I don't doubt that there are efficiencies out there to be made. Phil, I'm tired of giving our money to private enterprise. Really tired of that, because our public spending, everybody complains about public spending, but nobody complains about the private spending. We need housing. Our government needs to step up. Our schools are falling apart. Education is in trauma. Healthcare is in trauma. These are public things. They're things we all need. These are things we need to look at. These are things we need to spend money on. Red tape. And it just makes me nervous.
Your point on where the tax dollars get spent and how you're frustrated by them being spent on private industry. And I know I'm going provincial here, but it was interesting earlier this week when Doug Ford talked about, maybe pressing pause on the EV mandate, kind of instructing the feds on that. Well, Ontario, and under Doug Ford, billions of dollars in investment in EV battery plants. So I think you're almost speaking out of both sides of your mouth there. And that caught my attention. And I wondered, geez, if you want them paused, why are you taking billions out of our tax dollars to do that? Molto, I'll come back in a minute, but the other Phil first, Mills.
There is maybe I'll say between Phil and Marjorie on this. Like, there's a part of me that gets really anxious when we talk about efficiency in government, because I don't know that governments are supposed to necessarily be efficient. Because I think when we start talking about efficiency, it often ends up coming down to like peoples and services, and I don't know that it ends up being for the people in the way that we would actually want it to be. And that really makes me, this is the most efficient way. We're going to take people out of this. And you're like, okay, like, I don't know, Canada Post. Well, it's not the most efficient way to do this. Great. So now a whole bunch of people won't have access to services because they live in a rural community, because this isn't supposed to be even and balanced. This is for everyone. And the idea is to create, in some respects, fixes for where markets don't work, because, that idea, there's this sort of old idea that like capitalism is great for things you want and terrible for things you need. And the government's supposed to pick up on the things we need. And so if it's getting at the things we want and only focusing on things we need, that sounds fantastic to me. But I think sometimes that push towards efficiency to be a business means, well, we're going to have to make cuts and somebody's going to have to suffer. No, I don't want that. That's not what the government's supposed to actually be picking up on all the things so people aren't suffering. So there is a base, sense of community and like a social, conscience to the way that we operate as a country. And so that's the stuff that so if they can thread the needle, please cut out things we don't need to be spending on. As a person who works in the construction industry, like, my goodness, there is red tape. There are things that need to go away. Absolutely. My worry is that the red tape and the things that need to go away means like, wow, we're going to have some people who are homeless and we're not going to be able to do much about them because, there's not an efficient way to deal with that. Or the efficient way to deal with that is to round them up and stick them somewhere else. And I'm like, that's not the answer. And so I worry what the words could mean. And so I guess, it's a bit of a colloquialism, like the proof's in the pudding. We'll see where it ends up. Conceptually, great. Yeah, let's not waste money. Nobody wants to waste money. But we don't always agree on what wasting money is. And sometimes I think they're like, well, we're not going to waste money here. And I was like, by waste money, you mean help people? Like, I disagree. And so that's my worry every time.
That's what makes me twitch. Exactly that.
To me, there's a big difference between being efficient and then also being responsible. Efficient, as our panelists have said, it just becomes a cruelty of just cut. But there's a part of being responsible of why are we doing what we do. And I think back to the entrepreneurship that built this region in this area of Ontario. Farm machinery, furniture, tanning factory, the clothing industry was all built by entrepreneurs who didn't get money from a government. They had ideas, they had good workers, they had good solutions, and they made good product for a long, long time. The whole idea of now investing in private industry, that's not what taxes are for. They're to provide clean water for people in rural areas who are keep getting boil water advisories, not to buy products or services for an industry that's supposed to be self-sufficient. I mean, we've seen that go back to the old days of how many big corporations were bailed out, both here and in the States, because they weren't running their companies properly. That's not where government should be. Government should be collecting taxes to provide essential services for everybody, not to invest in select industries.
I can't help.
And don't get me started on AI, because I already have people who can't even access computers and digital information, and people who can't reach people on the phone. And now you're going to say, oh, well, no, maybe we'll just put everything online and cut out a whole section of the population who don't have access to that.
No, that's a really good point, leaving people behind. I used to think I was at least somewhat tech savvy. It's getting harder and harder to keep up with all of these different ways when you try to make a phone call or send an email or whatever. I can't help but think of the word populism in listening to what Philip Mills said a few moments ago. You know, it sounds great. Let's save money. Let's cut red tape. Those sound like very populist sentiments, but the devil, of course, emerges in the details. And, you know, speaking of Mark Carney as a Liberal Prime Minister, a lot has been said in the past several days that cuts like this have not been seen since the days of Jean Chrétien, another Liberal Prime Minister back in the early 1990s. We'll continue our Friday 4 roundtable discussion and come provincial. If we come from the national story to a provincial one, and boy, oh boy, have we got some decisions to make in our college system in this province. Philip Molto, Marjorie Knight, Philip Mills with us on the Friday 4 roundtable this morning. We continue on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Barry Gibb wrote it. Frankie Valli recorded it. The title song to the 1978 film Grease. I think you like to torture me with the disco on all Request Fridays. Movie soundtrack edition, that one for George on the show this morning. Marjorie Knight, Philip Mills, Phil Molto with us on the Friday 4 roundtable discussing the week's big stories. Marjorie, I'll start with you on this last one we tackle, and that is the college system here in Ontario. Upwards of 10,000 layoffs within the sector, we are being told this week, and about 600 programs eliminated because they're not profitable enough. And I don't know, when I was a younger man, I just thought that schools offered programs so people could get training in various fields, not because of how profitable they were. I think we're at an interesting crossroads here. What do you make of it, Marjorie? How do we fix this?
Man, I just kind of look at how we even got here. We ended up with a sudden, a kind of funding formula, which meant that colleges and universities had to find ways to fund themselves. Well, they fell into the rabbit hole of bringing in international students. We've always had international students. No matter what the process was, we've always had them. We've always welcomed them. But then we started to, I don't want to use the word pander, but we started looking at ways to bring more and more people in, because this is how they made their money. They made their money plus some. I mean, they made a lot of money off of international students. And to tell the truth, there are sometimes some of the courses that were being offered, you kind of scratched your head and going, and this will get you ahead how? So I'm not surprised that there are a lot of courses that are being cut. But I really wonder on what basis that is. Some, okay, maybe they're not profitable right now, but maybe they're necessary courses that we need to build our country and our economy, and to get people into industries and into fields that are necessary or will be necessary. I don't know how they make those decisions. Profitability, I don't know if that is the best case. But I think we need to look at that funding formula. But even more than that, we need to look to get back to what we were at the beginning. where we were institutions of learning, where people had to qualify to come, and that there was space for people, but that you weren't having to chase international students to build your bottom line, to make yourself solvent. How do we get back to that? I'm not sure, but it definitely is going to be a painful exercise.
There might be a comparison there to our last conversation around finding savings within the federal government, to Philip Mills's point around, are you helping people or are you being efficient and or saving money? Right? These programs, they might need to be cut. But when we're cutting programs at the federal level, if that's the case, for what reason are we doing it? It's not bringing in a profit. That's not the way we do it there. Mr. Mills, thoughts?
Well, I guess that you kind of get to the point of it. Like, so is the program, wanted, valued? Like, is it useful? Is it like, what is the rationale? And I guess the question to be asked, what I'd be curious about in the end is, are these programs and has the expansion of the service offering been because that's what should be and that's good education? Or is it because there was opportunities to make money because there is more money coming from international students? So if we create opportunities to have more international students, we can have more money. And so like that becomes a bit of like, what is the purpose of this institution? It's to educate. So was the driving force for the way we are right now good, solid education, or was it opportunities for growth, expansion, development of, the whatever, the brand, the campus, the school, whatever, college this may be? There's lots of opportunities where you could say, like, what are the competing interests that got us here? Because if it was, we want to be the best school providing the best education, and that's been what's driving choices, yeah, we should find ways to keep those positions and find ways to keep those, that educational offering. If the answer was, look, we've got opportunities to grow, well, like growing for the sake of growing is not what a college is about. A college is about education. So I guess, it's hard to know how you fix it, because I don't know if what, was first things first. What was the driver to get us to this? Was it education, or was it, hey, there's money we can get that would help us do other things?
Phil Molto.
It's odd to use the term broken business model, but that's exactly what's happened. Again, I go back to my youthful days in the 80s when you used to go to the counselor's guidance counselor's office, and there's all those brochures for the various colleges and programs. All the programs were applicable. And when you went there, I went to Sheridan for photography. Everybody was from Ontario, a couple people from BC, one from Nova Scotia. Then when I went to Conestoga for broadcasting, they're all from Ontario, again, a few from around and all that. But it was a programs that were needed, had grads. When they posted the numbers, every grad got a job. All 32 grads to this program have employment. There were needed programs, and the grads were successful in their industries. Then something happened with funding, and suddenly the colleges had to look, where can we find money? Well, let's expand. Let's now offer degree programs. Let's bring in more international students. And suddenly the whole dynamics, the whole business plan, if you will, shifted. And that's not the way it should have operated. And I'm surprised in our region. I'd go around on my bicycle and I'd see signs for Seneca, Fanshawe, Windsor. There was this massive recruitment. They're all competing for the same students with tax dollars, from the parents. Just as you've used the expression before in other areas, know your lane. What is it that you do at your college? What is it you teach? What is your demographic? What is your sustainable model for 5 and 10 years? Just going after any money you can find is not sustainable, and it's not a plan.
I just find the phrasing broken business model when we're talking about post-secondary education to be so odd. Business. But you know what? That's absolutely what it has become. And that's the time we've got for this week on the show. Lady and gentlemen, thank you all for being a part of this today. Philip Molto, Marjorie Knight, and Philip Mills with us. Appreciate your time. Enjoy the weekend ahead.
I'm going out to the garden because I'm a flower person.
Look forward. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the weekend. Look forward to our next conversation. The Friday 4 Roundtable is over, but we continue on the Mike Farwell Show. Free Phones Friday coming up, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Jim wanted to hear a little bit of Bob Seger and Shakedown from the soundtrack of the movie Beverly Hills Cop 2. I'm not big on the sequels. They could have stopped at 1. I haven't watched number 4, but who didn't love some Beverly Hills Cop back in the day? It is an all-request Friday where we are playing your favorites from movie soundtracks. And on Fridays, we also have free phones from 12 until 1, where we just gather around the radio for a conversation. You're welcome to join it, as Free Phones Friday is coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Try to be best, cause you're only a man, and a man's got to learn to take it. Try to believe, though the going gets rough, that you gotta hang tough to make it. History repeats itself. Try and you succeed. Never doubt that you're the one, and you can have your dream. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. You're the best around, and nothing's gonna ever keep you down. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down.
Oh, you can just see. I know you can. The fighting montage at the All Valley Karate Championships. Daniel LaRusso, the Karate Kid, working his way to the final against Johnny Lawrence. The rest, of course, is history. That's Joe Esposito. And you're the best by request on this All Request Friday movie soundtrack edition for Pete. I was hoping that when Pete sent that request, he meant this show. You've got the best show. Maybe he did. Maybe he just wanted to hear some Karate Kid, whatever the case may be. It's an all-request Friday. You make the request. We play it for you. And today, it's songs from movie soundtracks. Fridays also mean free phones to close out our week together. And I kept this under my hat until now. Just want to let you know, I'm going to go away. I'm not going to be here next week. Brock Greenhalgh will be in this chair. So this is our last chance to talk for a little bit. Let's make the most of it, okay? Phone lines open at 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Mark, start us off. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm glad you're going on a nice holiday.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm hoping you get good weather, so it looks like it.
I hope so.
Anyway, I've got two comments. One, I'm not going to deal with in a lot of issues or a lot of points on it because you've already done that. And that first issue is Fire Chief Mike Heptich. I'm not sure if his name is Mike. But
it's Richard.
Heptich in Waterloo made your case for why we should have an amalgamation and be done with all this bullshit bullcrap that's going on. So anyway, my second comment is related. It's kind of related to it. I live in a building that has mostly senior citizens in it, and so anyway, I had the unfortunate occasion that I had to go to the hospital by ambulance about 4 weeks ago. Ended up with pneumonia, and so anyway, and I've been at the hospital maybe once a year for the last number of years for different issues. So I get on the phone like I have for the last 4 or 5 years, and like I've talked to several regional counselors. I phone the 911, and I said, look, I don't need a fire engine. I don't need a police officer. I just got to go to the hospital.
But you get the tiered response anyway, where they all show up.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they all show up together, okay? And so anyway, I'm sitting there thinking, like, what a waste of money and time for some of these people. And what if the fire department got called out to another 8, anyway. But so I've tried to talk to the regional counselors about all of these issues. Now they want to put up this $177 million central area there for communication, which nobody knew anything about. It hasn't even been discussed yet. And they've got plans and they've got drawings for it already, which they've paid thousands, tens of thousands of dollars.
Well, make no mistake, it's definitely been brought up at the Police Services Board, and it was at Regional Council just last week. Lots of discussion about it. No shovels in the ground.
Yeah, no. Last week is the first I found out about it.
Well, that's because it's the first time it came to regional council. We're at the beginning of this story. I promise you.
Okay. Well, all I'm saying is that I don't need a fire truck and I don't need a police officer then where I got pneumonia.
I got it. You want to look at a different way of responding. The tiered response isn't doing it for you.
Exactly.
Sure. No, you know what, Mark? I appreciate the call. And I'm here always for the sentiment of the BS that it is that we are not amalgamated in this community. I think you nailed that one for sure. But appreciate you weighing in on Free Phones Friday. Andre, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. Very well said, Mark, for Friday. Why send the cavalry, right?
There you go.
I was very happy to hear from Marjorie Knight on your four panel.
Yeah, we've missed her for a little while.
Too long.
But she's back. She's back, baby.
She's back. That's all that matters.
Yep.
Good to hear from her. She's doing well. So my question to you, Mike, when is, in case, happy holiday that you're going to have, well, always enjoy. Can't wait to hear from Brock because my son's going to be in his class probably in 2 years from now, so I'm getting ready for him. But my question to you is, when is Fan Fest?
Oh, my gosh. Andre, it's July. Can we just enjoy the weather?
Go Rangers!
All right.
Go Rangers!
All right, buddy. Go Rangers. FanFest is going to be when FanFest always is, and that's the Labor Day weekend, the Sunday of the Labor Day weekend. And so if I look at Euan calendar, I see that should be, is that going to be the 31st of August, or is it going to be the 7th of September? I'm guessing the 31st of August. So there you go. FanFest, August 31st. Speaking of hockey, Kitchener Rangers, how about a couple of Kitchener kids? Our boy Scotty, Blair Scott, who plays with the Niagara Ice Dogs, and our boy Kyle Morey from Kitchener, played with the Rangers for a minute. Both just won gold with Team Canada at the World Ball Hockey Championships. Back-to-back golds for Canada, baby. And Blair Scott and Kyle Morey of Kitchener were involved in that championship. Way to go, fellas. Free Phones Friday continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Is that some Pretty in Pink I hear? New Order, song called Shell Shock, by request for Marty on your All Request Friday. Blaine? His name is Blaine? Blaine's not a name. That's a Major Appliance, not a name. Oh, good old Ducky. Good old Pretty in Pink. The good old 1980s. Your request can be for a song from a soundtrack from the 1980s or any other time on this All Request Friday. Free Phones continues. Jason is next. Good afternoon, Jason.
Hey, Mike, love that reference. Ducky and Blaine. Blaine's not a name. That's, yeah. I just happened to drive past one of our beautiful speed cameras on Weber by Eastwood. And I have to be honest with you, a few of the reasons why there was some justification, around these zones were because there's kids there all the time, there's families, there's, schools are no longer just 9 to 5 or 8 to 4. You know how many kids were on the playground or on the field there? Zero. There were no kids around there. It drives me nuts to see these speed cameras in places where, as we've spoken before, there are no accidents. Those are not the problems. And so hopefully, we come to realize that these are in poor taste, and we got to quit, milking as much money out of our residents as we can, or we got to stop that.
We absolutely do, Jason. Really appreciate that perspective from somebody using the roads today where a speed camera is in place. Should tell you that there is in the GTA, Brampton specifically, a petition that's been started calling for the immediate removal of all speed cameras in Brampton. And in Toronto, police have begun a criminal investigation after one particular speed camera was vandalized 6 times. That's how some Torontonians feel about the speed cameras as well. You know I'm with Jason on this. The data says that the people driving 50 on Weber Street in and around Montgomery are not the maniac you're looking for. Follow the data. Mayor Jake, good afternoon.
Like, sorry, you know.
I'm good, and you?
Not so bad. I get all sorts of fired up when I hear talks about speed cameras and roundabouts, because I heard the other day that we're looking at spending more money to make roundabouts more safer around the region, and I really laugh because I feel like that if you were that smart, you can pay that much money, you could have figured these things out before you put the roundabouts in. And they were supposed to make it safer, quote unquote, safer for pedestrians. So, they're not so safe, so we're going to implement more spending on making them safer. And maybe what we should do is get rid of the 8-foot hump in the middle of stupid roundabouts to see better. And maybe we should have had these little flashing lights at the beginning, but no, we're the experts. We know everything.
Mayor Jake, appreciate it. I'm going to let you go because your phone's not great, but Mayor Jake's concern is around roundabout safety. That seems to be coming far too late in the game here, and I will concur with that. It was first discussed. Listen, why we ever tried to mix pedestrians in traffic circles, I have not the foggiest idea. But it was the spring of 2023, more than 2 years ago, that it was first suggested by a regional councillor that safety measures would be implemented, like flashing lights, like raised crosswalks, etc. And it takes more than 2 years to do a pilot project at 3 roundabouts only. We've got dozens of roundabouts. And I have a difficult time with the region promoting the fact, look, we're making them safer. 2 years. And all you're doing is a pilot project, by the way, which runs for 1 year. I just don't understand. Is it a priority for you? Because how many roundabouts have we built in the last 2 years that had 0 safety improvements attached to them? What in HE double hockey sticks has been going on for 2+ years that we can only now start a pilot project? Give me a break. Grant, you're on Free Phones Friday.
I think you just nailed it right on the head.
I try to do that. That's my job on this show, Grant. Nail it on the head.
I'm going to talk about that beer that was left in the fridge. I know when I was working at our sister location, when I was sent over there, I worked the night shift, and I left a message on the chalkboard to kindly remove the food that's in the fridge, and I got chastised by my boss. She was beyond me why she would give me a hard time over that.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because the boss likes to be the one to give the memos to people about what to do, right? Update on the beer in the fridge situation. I mentioned this to you yesterday. A couple of my coworkers were lucky enough to have a single beer each, so 2 beers, gifted to them. They put them in the fridge here at the radio station with a sticky note. So clearly, because otherwise, you know me and my beer. I've never met one that I didn't want to taste. But you've marked them as your own. I get it. But they've been in there all week. And I'm like, for how long is the statute of limitations on a sticky note before I or anybody else at the radio station can enjoy that beer? Because clearly, if you're leaving it here all week, you're not too interested in enjoying it, are you? I marched into that studio this morning where my coworkers work at Country 106.7. I said, Robin, PJ, you've been warned. If you do not take that beer home with you today, I'm taking it. That, I think, now is fair game. I gave them plenty of warning. Take it with you, or it's coming with me. Free Phones Friday continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
You got the touch. You got the power. Yeah!
That is The Touch by Stan Bush for Nathan by request on your All Request Friday movie soundtrack edition. That one comes from the Transformers movie, but not the real life action one with Shia LaBeouf, which was god-awful as far as I'm concerned. That comes from the 1986 animated version of Transformers. As we continue Free Phones Friday. Paul, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Two things. First off, once again, I was in the queue with the correct answer for the $1 million question.
It was the not $1 million question.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, never mind that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second point. I've been listening as much as I could today. Did you verify my claims yesterday about the CBC radio broadcast?
It was a TV broadcast, but no, I have not.
No, so you didn't tell the people that I was accurate in my the fact that it did come from CBC Radio. That's how I found it. CBC Radio.
Okay. Well, it was an interview on the CBC News Network. They may have simulcast it on the radio.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But, so I was accurate in what I said and what she said about Canadian.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
About Canadian traditions being
that's not accurate. I'll stop you there. That's not accurate. It had nothing to do with had nothing to do with Canadian traditions.
What was it to do with?
The exact quote: "If someone you know believed in equal gender rights, but all of a sudden are leaning towards traditional values, then that might be a sign that they're becoming more extremist."
Okay, so that's the low-hanging fruit that she picked to stand on. What about other traditions?
Such as?
Anything from religion to, doing what's right, things like that. It seems pretty broad.
Well, if you want to bring in religion, are there such things as religious extremists?
There certainly is.
Okay.
Now, you don't see them too much to the right, but anyways, was my statement accurate, and was it from CBC?
Yes, the statement was from CBC. The accuracy of your statements is open for debate.
You wouldn't let me play the whole thing.
Well, because you said you got it from Facebook, Paul, and I think you can understand why my antennae might have gone up from that point.
Right.
Okay.
But it was a clip from CBC.
Absolutely true.
These things appear all over the place.
I understand.
I'm sure that you played clips from CBC on your station.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play the clip before this hour is up, but I want to make sure we get people in their free phones calls into. But we will address this.
Okay, but you do admit that it was an accurate, that it was from CBC.
Absolutely.
It was an RCMP officer.
Yes.
By the way, she used to be part of the, what did I?
Okay, Paul, I got to
get
get
a little bit of research.
I got to get to the news update. I'm late.
Yeah, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what she's all about.
Thank you, Paul. We will address this as we continue Free Phones Friday. Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio. Are you awake yet? That is Lion, song called Never Surrender by request from Greg. Comes from a movie called The Wraith. Never heard of it. I was completely out to lunch on that one, but Greg had a great explanation, and that's the song he requested on All Request Friday as we continue Free Phones Friday. By the way, All Request Movie Soundtrack Edition. Kyle, good afternoon.
Mike, you know what you got to do? You seem a little stressed. So I got something for you.
Okay.
You know what? It's going to be 32 degrees tomorrow. You've got a motorbike. Go out and enjoy the weather. Go and stop your local, wherever you like to go, whether it's, obviously, drink responsibly, but, whether it's Cowbell or wherever, but just go, because that's what I'm doing this weekend. I'm going to pack my swim trunks, and I'm going to go and enjoy the Lake Huron, and I'm just going to relax and take out all my stress swimming. So that's what you got to do, man. You just got to enjoy life, go out on the motorbike, have a wobbly pop, maybe get a nice pie or an ice cream or something, and just enjoy, my friend. That's what you got to do. Does that sound better for you?
I love it. Thanks, buddy.
No problem. Have a good weekend, my friend.
Thanks, Kyle. You too. Love that idea. And by the way, I went to check the fridge here at the radio station. The 2 beers are still there. I told Robin and PJ, if you don't take them, I will. And just by the by, if you ever feel so generous as to want to drop some beer off at this radio station, I promise you, it will be respected and treated with the dignity it deserves. Oh, my good. I can't believe it's been in there all week. Come on with your coming on. Brian, good afternoon.
Hi. I wanted to came up on the internet about the very light penalties that the courts are giving to drunk drivers. This man, he was just given bail again. He'd been involved for the 6th time in an accident. And this time, a 21-year-old is now fighting for his life in hospital. And yet they keep releasing him back out onto the road again.
You will never get an argument from me on this, Brian. You're absolutely right. It blows my mind. I saw the same story. I don't know how you do it once and get a driver's license again or get back on the road. I don't understand.
Yeah. My dad was working up in Midland at the time. He had a young man working for him, with a wife and a 9-year-old daughter. They lived in Penisangwitheen, which was just right next door, Midland. And they were on their way home, and they were hit head-on. And all 3 were killed by a drunk driver. And he got out of the car and said, well, how many did I kill this time?
Oh, come on. That's I can't even with a story like that. But listen, I'm with you, Brian. We've talked about it repeatedly on the show. Way too lenient. I'm a one and done kind of guy on that. Like, there's no excuse for it. We all know. So you better not be breaking those rules. Mary, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Well, I didn't know you were going on holidays. You didn't tell me.
I'm just having a little staycation, Mary. No clock.
I don't care. I don't care, but I won't be able to hear Chuck.
No clock for me, Brock for you.
No, but I wanted the Chuck.
Well, you'll miss Gary Chalk next Thursday.
But you know that
he'll come back. I know it's your favorite.
It throws me into almost a depression.
Mary, you will survive. I promise.
Okay.
I promise.
Anyway, have a good one. But
Thank you.
The guy was calling about. He called 911 and
got a tiered response.
No, yeah, I know, and I've had many reasons to call 911. But this January, my husband couldn't walk, and my daughter was here to help me, but there's no way we could get him to the emerge, and we didn't want the 3-tiered response. Now, there is a number, 311, if you don't want that.
Okay.
There is a 311,
I did not know
and also there's a transfer companies. You're going to pay for the ambulance anyway.
Yes.
Yes, it's not free. But anyway, 311, I Googled it, and we did it for my husband, and it was only an ambulance came, and guess what? They were here in 4 minutes.
Holy Hannah, that's pretty good.
Holy Hannah, I wasn't even dressed.
Oh, my goodness, Mary. Now, there's an image. Okay.
Okay, have a great holiday.
Thank you, Mary. I look forward to talking to you as soon as I'm back. And remember, Brock Greenhalgh will be here with you next week. You'll have a blast. Preston Paul, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. I won't give any homework to do here.
Okay.
But I think they'll put those beer in that fridge just to tease the heck out of you.
They must have, right? They left them there all week.
They just probably had bets going, seeing how long would it take Mike on the radio to start talking about those beers. You're like
3
Homer
days.
with donuts.
3 days. That's how long it took. Homer with donuts. Very good. Very good.
And the other day, yesterday you were talking with Gary about growing grass. I put some seeds in a couple years ago, and my grass grew 10 feet out here.
Well, look at you. We got to come to you for tips.
Yeah. Anyways, you have yourself a great holiday, and we'll talk to you in the following week afterwards.
Thanks, buddy. I'm looking forward to it. Appreciate you.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Preston Paul, he had been listening to a different radio station in town, found us one day, and he's been with us ever since. And ding, dang it, do I like stories like that. And as I said, those beers, they are now mine. I went in good faith face-to-face this morning to my coworkers and said, listen, if you don't take those beers, and I still can't understand that part. You get gifted a couple of beers and you don't drink them? They got gifted to the wrong employee at this radio station. This is the Mike Farwell Show. Free phones Friday, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Meeting you with a view to a kill, face to face in secret places, feel the chill.
That is Duran Duran and A View to a Kill on your All Request Friday movie soundtrack edition. The only James Bond film theme song to go to number one on the Billboard charts. Duran Duran's A View to a Kill. I think that was the last movie with Roger Moore, too. Anyway, Brian wanted to hear that one. We heard earlier Paul McCartney and Live and Let Die from back in the 70s. This one was mid-80s, A View to a Kill. And Duran Duran by request on your All Request Friday. Free Phones Friday continues with Ron. Afternoon, Ron.
Hey, Farwell. So, I have a hatred for roundabouts, but let's face it, they work. But the problem is the pedestrian issue. Why don't we just build a bridge over it?
That's, the only problem with the bridge is the expense. But I'm with you. Man, what were we doing?
Bridges over highways, for crying out loud. I don't see how that can be so much more of a problem.
Well,
and then they don't have to spend the money on a study. We know it works.
I get you. And just to remind you, building bridges over highways, yeah, and that is a bigger project. But the one we just built over the Highway 78 cost us $9.5 million. We're not going to put $9.5 million into every roundabout, that's for sure.
Well, I get that, but I'm saying like on the busy ones, like the Franklin and I'm trying to remember the other street, Pine Bush.
Yeah, sure, I know.
That's a huge one,
great
and
point.
That would work perfectly there.
No, and I like where you're coming from, Ron. I really do. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, well, thanks, then.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. My look, aside from roundabouts in general and how much they frustrate me, the fact that we've taken this long from it being mentioned by a regional councillor back in 2023 that we're going to put these safety enhancements on takes more than 2 years, and we're doing it as a pilot project. We know that pedestrians and traffic circles do not mix. Okay, I did say I would get back to, and I wanted to do this today because it came up on the show yesterday when Paul called and talked about this statement from an RCMP officer about Canadian values and being extremist and all these different things. And it was a frustrating time for us on the show because Paul was finding something on Facebook I had not yet seen or heard it. What I could learn during the show yesterday, every single search return brought up websites like Rebel News, Juno News, Canada Proud, the Western Standard, publications that are decidedly right of center. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but typically when stories are only showing up from those sources, there is an agenda there for sure. However, the origins of the story are very much accurate. In an interview with the CBC, Staff Sergeant Camille Habel of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police said the following. Oh, good thing I checked this. Let me just do that because I want you to be able to hear this properly. Staff Sergeant Camille Habel of the RCMP said this.
If someone was very believed in equal gender rights, but all of a sudden are leaning towards like traditional values, and that might be a sign that they're becoming more extremist.
That is a 14-second clip out of context of a 7-minute interview. I can tell you from having watched the entire interview, and you may have gleaned from listening to that short clip, Staff Habel's first language is not English. And this was a question that was posed to her, what can we do to guard against extremism, et cetera? What should we be watching for? And frankly, she struggled to answer. There's no two ways about it. But at no point in that comment does she say anything about Canadian values. I'll read it to you again. If someone you know believed in equal gender rights, but all of a sudden are leaning towards traditional values, then that might be a sign that they're becoming more extremist. What I am certain that she meant by traditional values is a more traditional view of gender, i.e., you believe there are only two genders, male and female. And let me be clear about this as well. If you believe there are only two genders, male and female, that does not make you an extremist. All this woman was saying is that if you believed in equal gender rights and now you lean more towards a traditional viewpoint, but values came out, and this just got all twisted into a great big ball of anger. And that disappoints me. This is a staff sergeant with the RCMP doing a live interview on national television, and I'll bet you that she will never do another one because of the way this 14-second clip has been twisted around. Frankly, I would really love to know, what the heck do you care so much? Like, why do you want to cancel somebody or get so angry at somebody who's a spokesperson for the RCMP? How does that impact your life one iota? If I think you're ugly, does that matter to you? And I don't think you're ugly. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't. Why are we getting so twisted up about the words of one RCMP spokesperson who clearly misspoke? We're just, to me, it comes across as looking for a reason to be angry. And you know what? We've got lots of legitimate reasons to be angry. If you think that I'm an extremist, I probably don't care a whole lot. She's not the prime minister. She's not making a rule that you have to follow. She just had a bit of a misstep in a live interview. That's my 2 cents on it. Free Phones Friday continues. It's the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Bobby Womack and Across 110th Street from the movie Jackie Brown. By request from JB on this All Request Friday movie soundtrack edition. Let's squeeze in as many calls as we can on Free Phones Friday before the weekend arrives. Afif, where have you been, my man?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Well, I got into an accident, so that's where I've been.
Gotcha.
And now I want to talk about the health system a little bit.
Sure. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay right now. Like, I just had like a fractured wrist and a bruised chest, but that's all. So it's okay. Could be worse.
I guess. So how was your experience with the healthcare system?
So they took me to the hospital, checked me out, and that was okay. Like, that didn't take very long. So then I went home, and I started having, like panic attacks because, of course, I had the accident. I started having panic, like, like what happened and everything, and like flashbacks. So I went to them, and all they did is after 7-8 hours, they told me, hey, we got you an appointment, and wait for July 3rd. And this accident happened on June 18th. So it took about 2 weeks for somebody to contact me and talk to me about this. If I didn't have my family, I would have been right now, like, just, I don't know where I would have been, like, because I had...
What? Sorry, what did you have to wait for? Why did you have to wait 2 weeks?
To talk to a social worker about the panic attacks.
Oh, about the panic attacks, okay.
Right. But they told me, yeah, you have to wait 2 weeks. I'm like, then what about the thing that's happening right now? I was like, what are you going to do for that right now? There's nothing we can do about it. All you have to do is just wait. So for 2 weeks, I just had to, like, I still had like panic attack and everything. And only thing to help out is my family. If they weren't there, I don't know what would have happened to me.
Well, I'm glad your family was there for you, my friend.
Yeah. And so now I'm back.
Good. I'm glad you're back. Are you safe out there? Stay safe on the roads, okay?
All right, man. How long are you going for your vacation?
I'm gone next week.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Have a good vacation, man.
Thanks, Afif. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Bye.
Good to hear from you today. Brock Greenhalgh will be here 9 to 1 every day next week. Rob Snow will be here every day 1 until 3 next week. I'm just going to take a little staycation and not pay any attention to the clock. But make no mistake, I'm checking in on you. That's the beauty of doing what I do for a living. I always get to listen. So you go ahead. You talk that smack about me when I'm not here. I'll hear all about it. But I'll miss you while I'm gone, too. Look forward to resuming our conversations after next week. Enjoy your time with Brock. Enjoy the weekend ahead. I'll talk to you soon. My name is Mike Farwell. Bye for now.